President Donald Trump has finally been sentenced in the so-called hush money case in New York City. Now, I expected the sentence, but a lot of the left won't like it. Let's talk about it. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about President Donald J. Trump finally being sentenced in a New York City so-called hush money case involving Stormy Daniels. Now, as I said from the beginning, I expected what they did here. This is pretty much right along the lines of what I was thinking, but a lot of the left won't like it. They're going to say, oh, well, there goes that white privilege and Trump's above the law and all this, that, and the third. Now, what he was given was unconditional discharge. What that means is no punishment at all. Yes, you have been convicted. Yes, you are now a convicted felon. However, there's no punishment. And the judge, Merchan, was saying, hey, you know what? Nothing has changed as far as the law. He still broke it. He's still guilty, all this, that, and the third. However, what has changed is his status. He became the president, and now it's like, okay, how are we going to punish him? How are we going to send him to the penitentiary to make big rocks a little while he's in the White House? So we're not going to give him any kind of prison time. No punishment. Unconditional discharge, you out of there. Now, I'm not surprised. I knew they would do that. And the $1 million question you may have is, well, why did you think they would do that? Why did you think they would give him no sentence, but sentence him? Well, they want to say he's a convicted felon. That's the whole thing. That's the mainstream media. You see, when you have a ruling or whatever it is, when you're found, quote unquote, guilty, you are not officially guilty. You have not become a convicted felon until you're sentenced. So if they don't sentence him, he's not a convicted felon, even though the ruling said so. Since they actually went ahead and convicted him before he became the president, now they could just say that, oh, convicted felon, convicted felon, convicted felon in the mainstream media. And you know what? Before I get to what I really want to show you, which is a longer video of Trump responding to this, this is how the mainstream media does. They gaslight you and they manipulate you. They know when they say he's a convicted felon, it's meaningless, but they think that you think it means something. So they're going to keep telling you that to make you think a certain thing about the president, although it's not really true. Now, before I get any more triggered, let's get to the audio video in question. This is Trump speaking about what happened and expressing his displeasure. I'm going to play the majority of it without interrupting too much, but I will pause it at certain points. If you want to hear this full thing without my commentary, link as always will be in the description. If you're on IG, Facebook, etc., visit a link in the bio, go to the corresponding article on the website. But without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
Almost criminal in what he did. It was very inappropriate. It was somebody involved with my political opponent. Part of the records that we're talking about, they're saying, I just noticed where he said I was falsifying business records. Well, the falsification of business records, as they say it, was calling a legal expense in the books where everybody could see them, a legal expense. In other words, that legal fees or legal expense were put down as legal expense by accountants. They weren't put down by me. They were put down by accountants. I didn't call them construction, concrete work. I didn't call them electrical work. I didn't call them anything. They called a legal fee or a legal expense. And for this, I got indicted. It's incredible.
Now, I got to pause right quick. You know, this was nothing but just dog and pony kangaroo. It was a way to throw dirt on Trump's name, to make him appear to be a criminal, to discourage the American people from going out there and voting for him. This, once we look back on it as a nation, I think we should all agree this was election interference to the max. I think the majority of you guys watching this right now think that, but I want the entire nation, regardless of whether they left or right, to really just understand that point. But I digress.
Actually, now, if you look, my attorney alluded to it, the top legal scholars and legal pundits in this country, the ones that are quoted all the time on television, that are making their views felt and highly respected people, have said, everyone, virtually everyone that I know of, I haven't seen any to the contrary, not one, and these people are not exactly friends of mine, to put it mildly, but they all said this is a case that should have never been brought. It's an injustice of justice. Very respected Jonathan Turley, Andy McCarthy, Judge David Rifkin, a wonderful man who just passed away, by the way, Greg Jarrett, Ellie Honig from CNN, of all places. CNN said that, Paul Ingratian, Alan Dershowitz, they all said this is not a case that should be brought. It's not, think about it, legal expenses are down as legal expenses, and I get indicted for business records. Everybody should be so accurate. It's been a political witch hunt. It was done to damage my reputation so that I'd lose the election, and obviously that didn't work.
Did not work. It sure didn't.
And the people of our country got to see this firsthand because they watched the case in your courtroom. They got to see this firsthand, and then they voted, and I won and got the largest number of votes by far of any Republican candidate in history.
And you know what? What he's saying is 100% correct. And as far as the whole thing about they try to make him lose, yeah, that was their thought process. But obviously, it really backfired when they have all these things that are just launched against them, and we can see it's transparently just to try and make him lose. That's going to galvanize us and make him vote for him more. And then they tried to delete him. That didn't work. God intervened. Oh, now we saw a miracle in front of us. Everything they did, all the weapons formed against him did not prosper.
And won, as you know, all 7 swing states, won conclusively all 7 swing states, and won the popular vote by millions and millions of votes. And they've been watching your trial, so they understood it. I wasn't allowed to use the lawyer-client privilege or the reliance on counsel. I had a lawyer that made this deal, and he admitted that. And he was also a totally discredited person. We weren't allowed to use the information from the Southern District that totally discredited him. It wasn't allowed to be put in. And that was terrible, unbelievable. And this is a man who's got no standing. He's been disbarred on other matters, unrelated. And he was allowed to talk as though he were George Washington. But he's not George Washington. He shouldn't have been allowed. The Southern District did a book of approximately 28 pages where I've never seen anything like it. They excoriated him. You wouldn't let it be put into evidence. So he was able to testify as a witness, and I think it's a disgrace to the system. I was under a gag order. I'm the first president in history that was under a gag order where I couldn't talk about aspects of the case that are very important. I guess I'm still under, so probably I won't do it now. I assume I'm still under a gag order. But the fact is that I'm totally innocent. I did nothing wrong. They talked about business records, and the business records were extremely accurately counted. I had nothing to do with them. That was done by an accountant.
And the thing about it is this whole business records and the hush money, all this other random stuff they're trying to say that he did, really, it's nothing. People do stuff like that all the time, and nobody ever gets indicted. Nobody ever gets brought up on charges. Nobody ever gets paraded around on television. He's a monster, 34 felonies. Nobody ever has that happen to them. The only reason why it happened is because you got career builders and you got these woke warriors, and you have those from the federales who were trying to put pressure on just everybody. Hey, do you have something on Trump? Can you get him in court? Can you tie him up? Can you try to get him convicted? That's all that this was, again, in an effort to try and keep Trump out of the White House. And of course, we all know it didn't work.
Bookkeeper who I think gave very credible testimony and was corroborated by everybody that was asked. And with all that's happening in our country today, with a city that's burning to the ground, one of our largest, most important cities burning to the ground, with wars that are uncontrollably going on, with all of the problems of inflation and attacks on countries and all of the horrible things that are going on, I got indicted over calling a legal expense a legal expense. It was called a legal expense. I just want to say I think it's an embarrassment to New York, and New York has a lot of problems, but this is a great embarrassment. I believe that this and other cases that were brought, as you know, the DOJ is very much involved in this case. It's because that's the political opponent they're talking about. The DOJ is very involved. You have a gentleman sitting right there from the DOJ who was from the DOJ's office. He was also involved with the New York State Attorney General's case. And he went from there to here. He went around and did what he had to do. He got them to move on me. But in the meantime, I won the election in a massive landslide. And the people of this country understand what's gone on. This has been a weaponization of government. They call it lawfare. Never happened to any extent like this, but never happened in our country before. And I'd just like to exclaim that I was treated very, very unfairly. And I thank you very much.
Thank you.
So there we go. Shout out to Trump. Again, I will link to this full video in the box so you're able to hear all the audio for yourself. Now, as I close, I wanted to say this. I didn't hear anything from Trump right there that was a lie. If you heard a lie, if you heard something that was wrong, y'all let me know. Put it in the comments. I did not hear anything that was wrong. What he outlined was exactly what he said. It's lawfare. And the American people can see it. And, you know, I'm on the internet quite a bit looking at people and what they say in the comment section on different, you know, people are saying, hey, man, this is kind of crazy. I don't even like Trump, but they're just obviously using the law against him, trying to keep him out the way. You know what? I'm going to add one last piece as I put the bow on top. If you want to succeed in an election, try winning the election fair and square. Try having a better candidate, a better message, something rather than trying to manipulate people through the media, rather than trying to use legal means to get somebody out of the way in an inappropriate fashion. Don't do that. Just win the election fair and square. What do you bring to the table? Why should I vote for you? Convince me to vote for you without having to try and trick me or falsely incarcerate somebody else. And I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's your opinion about this whole situation with the sentence? Was it a good sentence, bad sentence? Should it have been a sentence at all? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys know where I'm at. This was 100% lawfare. And as I said earlier in the video, no weapon formed against Trump has prospered. They tried to lock him up. They tried to sue him. They tried to tie him up in court proceedings so he can't campaign. And then when none of that stuff worked, when the media's attacks, when the legal attacks, when all that stuff fell apart, okay, let's go ahead and just delete him. That didn't work either. So you can't do anything. Just let the man be president. Let the will of the people speak. That's what makes America great. We, the people, have the power. Now, when we relinquish that power to these idiots in government, the country is over. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.